It's time for June and I to talk part 2 of our conversation on retirement questions every generation should ask, or at least the 2 generations that are thinking about retirement at this moment. Although it is important for folks even younger to start thinking about it because it's still coming inevitably for you, and you may require some more things than your prior generations did. But either way, we're going to talk about that this week. Gen X on this edition of the podcast. This is Tag Talks, charting your retirement journey.
This is Tag Talks with June Horn, the CEO and founder of Transition Advisor Group. Join June for insightful conversations about how to successfully chart your retirement journey.
Hey, everybody, welcome into the podcast. June Horn and myself here to talk investing, finance, retirement, taxes, Social Security, all sorts of stuff that we talk about, various different things when it comes to dealing with getting prepped and ready for retirement. And we're going to pick up this conversation on part 2 and talk about Gen Xers and questions that we should be asking as we start to get closer to that retirement end game, the touchdown, if you will, the red zone, whatever kind of term you want to use. You know, June, technically summer is not till June 21st, right?
Somewhere in that area, yeah.
But we all kind of treat Memorial Day like the unofficial kickoff to summer, right?
That's correct.
Every time it gets there, we kind of do that. Well, I kind of think that turning 50 is the unofficial kickoff to retirement.
Okay.
Because I think once you hit 50, your brain goes, maybe I should start to get serious about this, right?
Yeah.
And we start kind of thinking about things a little differently. And then, of course, the government also actually gives us some little things like catch-up contributions and changes to various things where we can kind of put more money away and get closer to retirement. So I think it's a good idea for Gen Xers, if you haven't started thinking about it at the age of 50 plus, to maybe start doing so. So we got some questions for you guys to ponder out there when it comes to it. And as I mentioned on the last podcast, and if you didn't check that out, feel free to go check it out if you'd like. Even if you're not a boomer, you might find it useful because it was about boomers in that particular conversation. But on this one, I mentioned the fact that they keep moving the ages around. Currently on these notes that I have, June, it says 1965 to 1976, which I do not think is accurate for Gen X. I think it's like 65 to 83, but either way, wherever you find yourself, you might want to find yourself in some of these questions. So let's talk about a few of them. Let's just start with a biggie. How much do I need to save to retire? Well, you can't just go, here's a random number, right? I mean, you have to work through this, and that number is going to be different for everybody.
That's right. I always say, when people ask me that, my first question is, how much do you think you're going to spend? Because it's not what comes in as is important as what goes out. So we need to take a look at that first. What are you spending now, and what do you think it's going to be like when you retire? We need to remember inflation, add inflation in there, because we know a loaf of bread's not going to cost the same in 3 or 5, 10 years that it does now.
Right now, we're certainly aware of it, yeah.
That's exactly right. It's at the top of the list now. So I think that how much, that's a tough question. That takes sitting down and really taking a hard look at everything, your income. What is your Social Security going to be like? Because at age 50, we can go in and get that pulled off of the Social Security report for you and give you a good idea of what that's going to be like at different ages, because they break that down for us. Do you have a pension? Is that, and a lot of times age 50, we're going to find less and less pensions, because I am already finding less and less pensions.
Oh yeah. Usually it's a state or government job.
Exactly.
At this point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you do have a pension, bravo to you. So we'll look at that. And then how much are you going to need to fill the income gap? And so that's how we look at that. And that's how we come up with how much am I going to need?
June, we get hit with the things like, $1 million, right? Everybody likes the big, round, sexy number, the $1 million.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, $1 million's not what it used to be.
That's correct.
And of course, then you also have some people go, well, God, I'll never get to $1 million. But yet I'm hearing that I need to have more than $1 million or $2 million. So it gets really kind of daunting. And I think the sarcastic person in me, if I was to get this question like you do about how much do I need to actually retire, I'd probably be like, well, tell me when you're going to die and I'll tell you exactly what.
Yeah.
Because it would be easy to build it from there, but you can't do that, right?
No. Well, we plan out to age 100, Mark. I mean, we just age 100, and there's going to be quite a few people that live to be 100.
Yeah, but if you don't, then great. There's just extra left over for your heirs.
That's right.
So, or your spouse, right?
That's right.
So
right.
how much do you actually need to have saved for retirement? You've got to kind of get that math done. What does your lifestyle look like, folks? That's another big piece of it. June, how you live and how I live are probably completely different.
Mm-hmm.
So what you need, the magic number versus my magic number, could be completely different.
Yes. And that's how we set the goals. And you need to be intentional about this too, Mark. It's not just saying, oh, I want to do this. This is what I want. I want $1 million. But how are we going to get there? That's the key. Yeah. How are we going to get there? Yeah.
Yeah. Because we'd all love to say, I want to be on my yacht. I take it cruising every day.
Right.
But that's not realistic. So set some realistic expectations.
Right.
Life is not a TV commercial, as we all know. All right. So second question here for Gen X to think about. How do I know if I'm even on track? Well, this is a little bit more realistic. I think this is something you can start working with your advisor on and figure out, strategizing. Hey, am I on track? Do I need to save a little more? Do I need to spend spend a little less, right?
Yes. Yeah. And that's one thing I think we really need to take a look at our spending habits. And, many times when you're younger, you don't recognize that you're spending too much. And we think that using a credit card and spending is okay. I know I've had 55-year-olds come into my office and have $50,000 worth of credit card debt. That scares me when I see that. And I had a situation where somebody came in, they had a lot of debt. And I said, do you know how much? Because I saw her statements. And I said, do you know how much interest you're paying? I don't pay attention to it, she said. I said,
especially
well, let me work on that. So by the time she came back again, I showed her how much interest she had paid over the last year. And she almost died. She really did. That was an aha moment in the negative.
Yeah.
So she goes, well, I'll never get out of debt. And I said, oh, yeah, we can do that. So we set up a plan to get her out of debt. And she did really well for the year.
Right.
Yeah, it really does. It just takes being aware of what you're spending on, because a lot of times we spend on things we don't know. I'm guilty of that,
we all are, right?
Take me to Chico's for, and I'll show you.
How many times does Amazon show up at your house, right? I mean, everybody's that way.
Yeah.
We've all gotten ridiculous with that kind of thing, right?
That's correct.
So it's easy to you kind of go, you were talking a minute ago on the prior point about the income.
Right.
Well, a lot of times people will underestimate that. They'll come in to see a professional like you, June, and they'll go, well, we did some back of the napkin and we can make this work for $3,000 a month is all we need to retire on and we'll be good. And you go, okay, cool. Let's take a look at these numbers. Let's see, and when you start looking at everything, you realize, no, you're spending $5 a month now.
Yes.
So how do you plan on making $3 work?
Yeah. So
when you start kind of breaking it down, and it's like, so are you planning on cutting your lifestyle? Because most of us don't want to do that.
No, we don't. But you need to create a budget and then track your expenses, because you know what? I know that there's a lot of people, and I'm guilty the same thing. That 2 cups of Starbucks coffee every week, is that needed? And that's not over
Hey, you're doing a
month.
week. That's pretty good. Most people are doing 2 a day.
Yeah. Well, no, but I meant if you do 2, I meant 2 a day, but if you do that over, 2 a week or over a month or 2 a day, yeah, for sure. That's very expensive. Do you, all the little things that you spend money on that you don't even think about, I had a gal that she went out, stopped for breakfast on the way to work. She went out to lunch and added all of that up. And that's very expensive depending on where you're going. So track your expenses.
Yeah.
And it's not that you have to change your whole lifestyle. It's just change a couple
start making
bad
some
habits.
tweaks.
That's right.
Start changing some of those bad habits. Well, how can I catch up if I started saving late? Well, I kind of said it a little bit ago when we first kicked this off. The government does, they don't do a lot for us, but every now and again they do a few things.
Yeah.
And the catch-up contributions, June, and we don't have to have the exact numbers, but just kind of the idea, what is that for folks that when we turn 50, they kind of let us put more away, basically.
Right. They bump it up to like the $7,500 you can put into the Roth or to the IRA. So
versus $6,500 if you were under 50. Right.
Right. And that's a year that you can do that. 401ks, the contributions are a little bit higher. Don't have those exact numbers in my head, but
I think it's 30,000.
I think you're right for for the catch up amount too.
For this year.
Speaking of 401ks, do the maximum that you can afford to do in a 401k. And the other thing I'll recommend is check with your company. Do they have the Roth 401k available? Start
Right.
putting it into the Roth today.
Yeah.
You might pay a little bit more taxes, but it's easier to pay a little bit at a time than at the end you have this big 401k and now you have this huge tax debt. So by starting to contribute into the Roth IRA or 401k, whichever the case may be right now, you're going to stop your silent partner called the IRS.
Uncle
Really?
Sam, he's got his hand in your pocket.
That's right. No more. That growth is tax-free as well.
Yeah.
So that is one thing that you really need to, and I think our young people need to be educated on this as well.
Big time. Yeah,
Right.
big time. And I was close, June. It's 30,500. So
Okay, good.
Yeah, it went up for this year. So if you got a 401k, 403b, 457, the alphabet soup,
Yes.
then it's 30,500 if you're over 50.
Mhm.
And to your point, so let's just call it 30,000 for a nice round number. And you just turned 50 and you're able to do that if you're feeling like, again, the question being, I'm late. I started late. I need to save more or get, better prepared for retirement.
Mhm.
I mean, 30,000 a year for, let's call it 15 years from 50 to 65. That's not chicken feed,
No,
right? So
that's great.
that can make a nice dent. So,
Yes.
there's
Yeah.
ways to do it.
And then some people will say, well, how can I afford to put more into my 401k? That's where the Starbucks coffees and those types
Yeah,
of things
yeah.
come into effect. And really sit down and look at that, because you just say, I can't afford it. But you know what? A
Yeah, you
lot of
probably
times, if we don't see it, it's not
Yeah.
a problem. Just
Yeah,
have
exactly.
it taken out of your checking account automatically.
Well, that kind of actually walks into my next question, which is some people, if you're, again, 50, we're going to go with that 50 plus, if you're a Gen Xer, how can I balance, saving for retirement, putting some extra away, but also knocking down my debt, like the mortgage. I also want to try to get the mortgage off by the time I get there. Or even I'm wrapping up, finishing, one of my kids or a couple of kids' college education. It
Mhm.
can be daunting.
sure
Hopefully,
can.
again, you're in the highest earning years of your life. So again,
Mhm.
prioritizing.
Right. And again, you have to take a look at your expenses, and can you afford to put an extra 500 or 1,000 on that mortgage each month, or pay that student loan down? Pick whatever is costing you the most to have. Get that knocked out first is what I usually say, and then go on to the lower ones. If you're paying a mortgage interest rate of 2 or 3% and you have credit cards that are 10 or 15 or 20, that's makes sense. Do the credit cards or whatever first.
I mean, Dave Ramsey's built a great career out of telling you that for the last 30 years,
Exactly.
right? You know what? I'll jump around on our list here, June, since you brought up the house and I brought up the house. That becomes a big question, right? I mean, obviously, a lot of times for boomers, they're definitely wanting to have the house paid off. They're kind of having that conversation. But if you're 50, 52, and you're thinking about, hey, should I try to get the house paid off before I get to retirement? I don't think it's a bad goal at all. However, think about what your mortgage rate is, to your
That's
point.
right. That's
If you're
exactly
paying,
right.
if you just bought a house recently and you're paying 7% because that's what it's been recently, then
Mhm.
sure, work on that joker. But if you're paying 3.2 or 2.9 because you got it a couple of years ago, there's probably your car. It's probably got a higher rate that you need to be paying
That's
down.
right.
Your credit cards, those student loans that we just talked about,
Mhm.
work on that, kind of do that math. And again, a professional like yourself can help with a strategy on here's
Sure.
the item list. Let's start checking this off.
That's right. And if you're only paying 2 or 3, like 2.9 or 3% on a mortgage, and you have money to invest after you get all the other stuff paid off, doesn't it make sense to get it invested someplace that you're making more than that 2.9?
5, 6, 7%. You're still coming out
Exactly.
ahead.
You're ahead of the game. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
great point.
It all balances out, but you need to recognize it. You need to be cognitive of where your money is going. And I think that's where we really fail many times. We don't really look at the details. We don't get into the mud and really dig into it. So
That's a
but
great
we can
point.
help you.
That's a great point. Well, there's a great way to help you. So check this out. If you want, you can get started with the Retirement Success Toolkit. That's a great way to do that.
That's right. Yeah. There's some good information in there about Social Security and a lot of other things. So there's good information in that toolkit. If you'd like that, just, let us know. We'll be sure to get one out to you.
We'll show you how to do it right here.
Thinking about your retirement future, but not sure where to begin? Transition Advisor Group is here to guide you with a complimentary retirement income review. Our approach, a personalized step-by-step journey tailored to your unique needs. It all starts with our Discover phase. Have a one-on-one meeting with our team, led by June, where we listen to your story, understand your situation, and align strategies with your financial and retirement goals. Then we strategize. Together, we'll explore ways to help enhance your retirement income strategy, crafting an approach that works specifically for you. Finally, we implement, putting your strategy into action. If you're looking for a place to begin your retirement income journey, call us at 717-718-5790 or request a visit online at tag-pa.com. At Transition Advisor Group, charting your retirement journey is our priority. Let's take the first step to...
So if you need to reach out to June, again, we got it right there on the video for you. If you're checking it out in audio, you heard that as well. But just go to tag-pa.com. That's tag-pa.com and reach out and let them know you'd like the toolkit. That's a great way to get started with some things to kind of help you along this path and kind of move the needle, or at least start to kind of dip the toe in the water, and get things moving, if you will. One or two more, June, and we'll wrap it up. At least one more. If you're so fortunate enough to find yourself with, or even just the mindset of, I want to retire early. Now, if this was our prior conversation on the prior podcast and we're talking about boomers, retiring early, if you haven't started planning for early, could be really daunting because your time window is short.
Yeah, that's
But
right.
if you're 50, for example, and you don't want to wait till 67 or 70 or 65 even to retire, and you're thinking, hey, I want to try to retire, let's just call it in 10 years. Okay, well, the sooner you can start planning for that, the better, right? Because obviously that's going to take, so when people ask you that question, is that kind of the mindset? All right, how do we build that strategy to help start fixing all of these things faster?
Yes, because when we do our financial plan, we take it out to 100, but it may show you that you can't afford to retire with what you have right now. You may only have enough money to live till 77. But then we say, okay, what do we need to do to build this portfolio up a little bit? And it's back to the basics, Mark. It's how much more can we eliminate expense and add to the portfolio? That's the bottom line to it all, because we can't create portfolio for you, but we can help you build one in an efficient way where you don't have to change your lifestyle, but be more cognitive and more aware of what you're spending and how much can I really go. I had a couple that came in one time and they were rather young, in their 50s, and they wanted to retire early, and they took two family vacations every year, and they were good vacations, nice, expensive. And so we talked about it, and I said, how important are 2 vacations to you a year? Would you be happy with 1 vacation for the next few years and save that extra $10,000 or whatever they're spending on the vacation per year? And they said, after thinking about it, you know what, June? Yes. Or maybe we'll take a really little vacation, like just a day or two to the beach instead of the flights and all the good stuff.
Big grandiose
so,
thing,
we have to look at lifestyle. We have to look at your expenses. How are you spending your money? And can we change any of those habits and help you build around those? Well,
and unfortunately, we've done a really bad job here in America of kind of getting everyone to feel like, hey, I can have it all. And that's a great mindset if you're able to do that. But you also have to be realistic, and you can't have the grandiose everything and also retire early and do this if you're not bringing in the income sources. You have to be honest with yourself. So what do you truly want for your retirement journey to look like? And I think the biggest piece for Gen Xers to start doing is to have that conversation with their loved one, first of all, and go, what do we want? How do we want to get it? Where are we going to, what are some things we want to put in place? And then get with a professional like you to say, okay, we've got 12 years, we've got 14 years, we've got 15 years. Help us get this strategy to get this thing done, because these are the items, these are the wants, or these are the needs, I should say. These are the wants, and then these are the secondary wants. Let's start figuring out a way to get through that. And I think you'll find yourself in a much better spot.
That's for sure. And don't forget emergency funds. Make sure you have 3 to 6 months of emergency funds set aside as well. Because I find sometimes people don't. And then the little emergency comes up, and then they're like wiped out. They're just like so scared and all that. So
especially if you're still working.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. So those are some questions that I think Gen Xers should be asking themselves. We went through a nice little list there for you. If you've got some questions that you need to be asking we didn't cover, well, drop us a message in the comment section if you'd like, or just get on with June, have a conversation, and go right to the horse's mouth, so to speak, and have a chat with her. And you can again reach out to her at tag-pa.com. That's tag-pa.com. Get yourself onto the calendar for a consultation and a conversation about your retirement journey. Even if you're not not ready for retirement yet, doesn't mean you can't start that planning process and that conversation piece. You can also reach out to her at 717-718-5790. For those that are watching, it's on the screen. But again, if you're just listening, 717-718-5790. She is the CEO and founder at Transition Advisor Group. June, thanks for hanging out and talking about these two generations. Should we come back and talk about the other generations another time, maybe?
Maybe so. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, especially maybe we can share, for a lot of our audience is going to probably be in this demographic, but they have kids.
Yeah, that's right.
They might could use some pointers too. So
that's right.
Thanks for hanging out with us, folks. We always appreciate it. Don't forget to hit subscribe on whatever podcasting platform app you like using, like Apple or Spotify, or on YouTube. That way you can catch new videos when they come out as well. We have little shorts popping up on there and all sorts of good stuff. So lots of good ways to get some content with June and the team at tag-pa.com. That's again, tag-pa.com. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us on Tag Talks. Don't forget to like today's video and subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcasting app so you never miss an episode. And if you have any questions, call Transition Advisor Group at 717-718-5790 and connect online at tag-pa.com. Transition Advisor Group, Tag-PA, is a company that includes Transition Planning Associates, an insurance brokerage. Our company provides retirement income planning expertise to individuals and businesses in central Pennsylvania, plus licensed in Maryland, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, and Texas. Transition Advisor Group will help you potentially protect your assets, increase your income, reduce your taxes, provide growth with stability and income you cannot outlive. We at Transition Advisor Group partner with you to put all the proper income planning steps in place for a successful retirement. Licensed insurance professional. Provided content is for overview and informational purposes only and is not intended and should not be relied upon as individualized tax, legal, fiduciary, or investment advice. By contacting us, downloading booklets, or attending events, you may be offered a meeting to discuss how our insurance and other services can meet your retirement needs. The presenters of this information are not associated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency.